I never understood that whole fear of clowns thing until a year ago. At the time, I worked as a temp night guard for a staffing agency and was used to changing workplaces often. But I'd been quite surprised upon learning my next contract would be with the owner of a theme park I'd heard was shutting down until further notice. The park had been set up in a field near the woods, about 20 minutes by car from the nearest local town. Its owner ran 3 more parks around the country without any trouble, but this one, which had recently been built, was a different story. Numerous incidents, from equipment malfunctions to unexplainable encounters, had left guests and staff members terrified, forcing the owner to shut down all activities for the time being. My job was to patrol around the park at night to avoid squatters from settling in and possibly damaging the property. I'd be there 5 nights per week, and the owner would leave some of the power on to allow me to look around more easily. Apart from a couple of teenagers transpassing once or twice, I'd been working there for a couple of weeks and had never had any issues. So, this one night, I begin my usual round of the park, enjoying the colorful lights and festive music. I'm passing by the Ferris wheel when I hear something surprising. The strange laugh of a man I cannot see echoes around me. I assume the laughter is part of the musical theme of the park, so I continue walking around, but in the back of my mind, I know it's strange that I'd never noticed this laugh before. As I'm peeking inside a hall of mirrors, I hear it again. But this time, the laugh comes with the sound of footsteps nearing in towards me. I look around, but everything is still. The sounds have stopped. However, I now have the distinct impression that I'm being watched. I continue exploring the park, but with the constant urge to look over my shoulder, like I'm expecting someone to appear at any given moment. It's not a comfortable sensation to have. I'm used to creepy places, but something about this situation is making me tense. Like I'm playing an unwilling game of hide and seek, except I don't know what I'm seeking. I'm turning around a corner when I see him. A clown, with bright red hair and colorful clothes, dancing by an empty food stand, bowing for a crowd that isn't there. I watch him move his limbs around from a distance, not knowing how to react. He seems harmless enough, but it's a strange sight to behold. And then, the clown freezes. He slowly turns his head towards me, and his eyes lock onto mine. He smiles, a slow-spreading, overeager grin that chills me to the core. I don't want to seem intimidated though, so I wave without thinking. "This is private property," I end up saying. "Leave, or I'm calling the cops." The clown's face turns into an exaggerated frown. Suddenly, there's a loud, screeching noise, and a second later, the park is bathed in darkness, the lights and music gone. I blink, trying to adjust to my surroundings and get a look at where the clown is. A loud, manic laugh echoes through the darkness, and I see a tall shape coming at me from the shadows. I can't be sure, but it looks like he's holding a knife. I turn around to jog towards the exit of the park. I don't know how dangerous this clown is, and worst case scenario, maybe I could take him. But I'm pretty much convinced this isn't someone entirely right in the head, and I'd rather avoid a confrontation if I can. The best course of action is to call for reinforcement. Behind me, the clown erupts into laughter, the sound of which seems to echo from all places. By the time the cops arrive, the power's back on, so we have no trouble searching the park. But we find no traces of the clown. We decide to look at the security footage, but unfortunately, the clown doesn't appear on any of the cameras. The next few days, I talked with some other security guards. One of them tells me of a local legend that speaks of a circus which was performing around here when one of its clowns had had an accident and died. Could I have seen the ghost of this clown? I'm more inclined to believe this was some twisted individual pulling a prank. The park was taken down soon after though, and the clown was never seen again. This happened to me on Halloween night about 5 years ago, and has left a scarring mark in my memory. I was coming home alone from a night out with friends, and was taking the train back to the suburbs where I lived with my boyfriend at the time. He was out himself, so I knew not to expect him when I'd get home. At first, the train is quite packed, with lots of people dressed up in different costumes, going from one party to the next. I'd even had the pleasure of sitting next to a drunken young man who'd looked like he was about to vomit all over me at any given moment, which I'd been relieved to see exit the train. But about 20 minutes in, my compartment's nearly empty. It's only me, an old man and a young couple that look like teenagers. I'm sitting by the door, scrolling my phone when the train stops at the next station. Somebody comes in and sways into the seat next to mine, half landing on top of me. It's a man, dressed in a clown costume, who I assume must be drunk, or he wouldn't have fallen onto me like that. Now that the compartment's empty, I don't feel like sitting next to another drunk guy who might vomit on me, so I get up to another seat a bit further away. I'm sitting across from the teens, scrolling my phone some more, when I notice a pair of shoes in my field of vision. I look up and realize the clown is standing right beside me, staring down at me. I carefully avoid eye contact and proceed to stare down at my phone. I can still see the guy's shoes and feel him breathing down my neck. He stays there next to me for a good 5 minutes, which feel like a lifetime. He doesn't say anything, just stands there over my shoulder. The couple in front of me act like they don't notice though. They're young, so I don't blame them for not defending a 30-year-old adult. Eventually, the man moves to sit a little further away in a spot directly looking at mine. I can sense his eyes set on me. I text my boyfriend, who advises that I ask for help, but there's literally no one in the wagon to turn to. The young couple gets up at the next station and I consider going with them, but I see the clown standing up as well, and so I'm tricked into thinking he's exiting the train. For a short while, I feel a little reassured. We're reaching my station when I realize the clown never left the train. He's sitting behind me, a little further away. Though currently, he's not looking at me anymore. I move towards the door, prepared to make my exit. I live about 10 minutes from the station by foot, in a quiet neighborhood where there's no chance of someone being out by this hour. There are no bars or shops on my way from the station either. I get off the train without looking at the clown to avoid attracting his attention. As I'm walking along the platform, I decide to quickly glance over my shoulder, hoping to be alone. But like I'd feared, the clown has gotten off the train and is now trailing behind me. I don't think about it twice. I begin to sprint faster than I've ever had in my life without looking back. I'm pretty sure the clown was drunk, so maybe he won't be as quick. I don't check though, just run towards my home as fast as I can. When I get to my door, I'm so nervous I have trouble unlocking the door. My lungs are burning and my heart feels like it's going to tear up my chest. I rush inside and lock the door behind me. I'm careful not to open the lights as I walk over to the living room, which overlooks the street. I hide by the window and take a glance outside. I see the shadow of a man that seems to be looking around. I'm pretty sure it's the clown. I call the cops, but by the time they arrive, the shadow has turned a corner and disappeared. To my knowledge, the guy was never found. This happened a couple of months after my divorce. My daughter Daisy was quite shaken up by the split, and to cheer her up, I'd promised to take her to the circus the next time they'd be in town. I don't like the circus, but Daisy loves it, so I kept my promise, and we went to see a show not long after that. My daughter was overjoyed, and so, after the performance, we decided to go greet some of the artists. We walk around the ground for a bit, and eventually, we run into a clown who waves at us and proceeds to make a balloon animal for Daisy. He asks her if she enjoyed the show, and Daisy answers that she only wishes her father had been there to see it with us. I don't know why, but at that moment, I felt the need to explain her father and I were recently divorced. The clown comments that if it were him, he'd never let a beautiful woman like me get away. Maybe he's just trying to be nice, but I don't like the way he says this, and how he then turns to Daisy and winks at her. I thank the man for the balloon and grab Daisy by the hand to get her home. We're just getting into our car when Daisy points to something on our right. "Look, Mommy, it's the nice clown from before." I don't like the sound of that. Is that man following us? I hurry up and start the engine when I hear someone tapping their hand on the window. It is indeed the clown from before, who gestures at me to lower my window. "We have to go home now," I tell him, ignoring his request. But despite my protests, the clown stays right where he is, smiling at me through the window. I'm freaking out by that stage, but I try not to show it for Daisy's sake. "Back away," I warn the man as I begin to pull the car out of its parking space. I feel slightly better as we're moving away. Soon enough, we're back home having a quick dinner before I tell Daisy it's time to get ready for bed. I finish cleaning up the dishes and head to her room to read her a bedtime story. Instead of waiting for me in bed, she's standing by her bedroom window, unmoving. "What are you doing, Daisy?" I ask her, intrigued. "The clown from before is here," she replies without looking away. My heart sinks. I tell her to back away as I move towards the window to look onto the street. I see him, by a lamppost, waving. I hurry down the stairs to make sure all the doors are well locked, which luckily they are. But as I'm about to go back up to Daisy's room, the doorbell rings. I'm frozen in shock. I don't want to make a sound, especially when a man's voice calls out to me through the door. "Anybody home?" Before erupting into a disturbing laugh. "It's me, your friendly neighborhood clown." Trying to remain calm, I tell the man through the door that if he doesn't leave my property immediately, I'm calling the cops, all the while texting my ex-husband to come over right now. We might be divorced, but we're on good terms, and I don't have to wait too long before he shows. He says he didn't see any clown on the way over, but that he'll spend the night just in case. The next day, we head over to the circus to complain to its manager. He swears that all the clowns working for him are women, apart from his son, who, in his words, would never do such a thing. I don't know if he's telling the truth or not, but soon enough, the circus moves out of town and my stalker never bothers me again.